Welcome to Music and Medicine on Monday, a collaboration between the School of Music and the College of Medicine here at the University of Iowa. This podcast is designed to help musicians play and to stay healthy. Additional supplemental information is available at our free medical website called the Iowa Protocols that can be searched for by looking for Music and Medicine on Monday at Iowa. We're coming to you from the recital hall at the beautiful Voxman School of Music in Iowa City. My name is Harry Hoffman, and I'm a physician at the university. Our featured guest performer today is Sarah Remoy, who completed her undergraduate in music education at the University of Arkansas and is now near completion of her DMA at the University of Iowa. Also with us today are Benjamin Coelho, who is professor of bassoon at the University of Iowa, Kate Gefeller, Professor Emerita in the School of Music and Department of Otolaryngology, who researches music and hearing loss, and our special guest, Adam Schwaye. Adam has a unique combination of knowledge and experience, having been a professional orchestral musician before deciding to enroll in medical school. So we'll have three bassoons to use as models, but just before we begin with the performance and can demonstrate what a bassoon looks like, that is not an oboe, as has been sometimes said. Can you just talk as a group, perhaps, why a double reed? Isn't one enough?
I think, well, for bassoons and oboes at least, it's the double reed. We have two blades that vibrate against one another to produce the sound of the instrument.
As a single reed instrument, like the clarinets and the saxophones, they have a single reed where the reed vibrates against the mouthpiece. So the bassoons and the oboes, as a double reed, we use the double reed, double single reeds, and then when we play air, we blow air, the two blades vibrate against each other. So that's why we need a double, because we don't have a mouthpiece.
So Adam, is that twice as good as one?
It's twice as good as one, and the bassoon is twice as big as the oboe.
With your bassoons in hand, can you describe what makes a bassoon and how they're different?
Sure. So the bassoon is about 7 feet in length of tubing, and it's got numerous keys, depending on the average tends to be about 23, 25 or so. Like we were just talking, Professor Benjamin said we use our thumbs a lot, so we're just really great, really intelligent beings. So yeah, Professor, you have anything to add?
Yes, and the bassoon, as we talked earlier, is the double reed instrument. So the reed is a generator of sound that the vibration starts and then goes into the bore of the instrument and it turns around. And we have over here what's called the U-tube. See, we had U-tube before U-tube existed. And I'm taking here, I actually have a special kind of U-tube because most U-tubes are made out of metal and mine is out of plastic. Because I developed this with some people in Canada, because I find that this type of material is more similar to the bassoons over here. In metal, if you think about the air comes from there, and it's warm air, and it's getting colder, but when it gets down here in the regular U-tubes are metal, there's a difference in temperature between this part of the bassoon, which has a rubber insert, and then I find that is not as good as construction. But I have talked to many manufacturers and they go, no, I think we keep doing what we're doing. But I think there's more and more research being done in how the U-tube works. Because the bassoon is one continuous tube, and then this is the fold of the instrument. And that part is very important. And we have several unstable or different kind of notes in terms of qualitative notes because of this turnaround here. So the A and the G's and the A flats are notes there. We always have to be paying attention to them, and I think it has to do with the construction of the instrument. The bassoon is an instrument that did not went through the development. It's called the BOIM system. The Belgian instrument maker, they acoustically develop that like the oboe, the clarinet, and the saxophone, and the flute, use that the tone holes is drilled perpendicular to the bore of the instrument. The bassoon, when they made that, which makes much more sense acoustically to have that, did not work because it didn't sound like a bassoon at the time when they tried that. So they dropped that idea and continue using the same. The modern bassoon is basically the same as the original Baroque bassoon. And so you see these angles and the size of holes are very different one from the other. And that makes the sound come, when you're playing an F, this is the F tone hole, you have this size and the tube is going this way. So the air comes and goes out through that tone hole. Then you play F, so it's all open. Then you play E. So then the E tone hole is this hole over here. So the air comes and the hole is drilled this way. So it goes down and then has to do a 180-degree angle for the sound to come out. So when you're blowing the air, it's coming out of each hole from different directions. And that creates anomalies in terms of how you blow air through the instrument, and you have to compensate for those distances. That we don't think so much about that, because if we start to stop and think about that, we're probably going insane. And
So does the sound not come through the end of it? It also comes out through these holes as well?
well, the bassoon sound rarely, some sound comes out to the end, but the sound of bassoon comes from all over the place. And to amplify a bassoon, if you just put a microphone over here, and if I play and you put your ears over here, it has a pretty nasty sound, very bright, kind of sound. But this warm sound of the bassoon is because it's all the sounds coming out of all of holes of the instrument.
How many holes are there that sound comes out of?
Well, there's keys. I didn't stop to count.
Well, if we think 23 plus 5,
Exactly.
yeah.
Then there's some vent holes that's extra. So this key, for example, this is a vent hole when you're playing the note high G, what we call high G, which is the G above middle C. They needed to install that vent hole there so the G would speak better, would sound better, would be more in tune. So we have several of those things, and we have very interesting things that every windy instrument, every hole is a unique hole, only one hole. On the B flat tone hole, which is under this key, there's actually 3 holes. And 2 goes to one side of the board and 1 goes to a different side of the board. Then the A tone hole, which is this over here, that hole is not even round, it's oval. And then there's a little hole on the side that is like a vent hole. So there's a lot to make the bassoon really work and have the sound it does. So Heckel and other developers like Karl Allman-Rieder, that was a partner with Heckel, they were thinking all about this when they were developing the instrument.
Adam, did you know all that stuff?
Yeah, at some point. I think the interesting thing, the fascinating thing about it is so many people think you have an instrument, you put down your fingers, you blow, the thing comes out, right. And that's absolutely not the case. All of these little nuances about the bassoon, and they can all be tweaked in some little ways, but all of them are designed to fix something, change something, to make something a little bit better. So they're designed to make some other note be a little bit more in tune, or the sound of the note be a little bit more even, for example. And so we have to deal with all of that when we're playing, because it's still not perfect. And we have to try to help with the way we approach the instrument. It's not just put down your fingers and blow. There's so much nuance that goes into it.
Well, that brings a question to mind for me. This sounds to me like quite a challenging task of listening to yourself and being able to modify your air control and all those things while you're taking into account the wide range of sounds that you can possibly get from the bassoon. And then you do a lot of playing with other people. Solo bassoon is actually fairly rare, right? Compared to playing in ensembles.
I can say that a lot of it is how it feels inside, right? When we're playing, it's like when we talk. We like, for example, I don't hear my accent when I speak English. But if I record myself and listen to myself, I said, who is this person? It's really astounding how heavy my accent is in English. And I don't hear that when I'm speaking, because I'm hearing the vibrations inside of my own head, in my inner ears. And I think so people ask me, so where is your accent from? I said, it's from New York. and they laugh, of course. And I said, New York? Well, that's where I learned English. Oh. So I must have a New York accent because I'm trying to sound like them. and I know I don't. So this similar thing happens when you play a wind instrument, because you have the reed vibrating inside of your mouth and you're hearing the things inside. So the training is to say what you hear inside of your head is not what everybody is hearing. So that's part of the training. It's like play here, but put your ears all the way there in the audience to know how you sound. And then automatically, like when we play certain notes that the sound's coming out this way, so it's going up that way, but the sound of this is going up front way. So we are automatically maneuvering, as Adam said, we're controlling things, and it's not really, the teachers can teach the students in a way to think, oh, that note needs to be a little louder, that needs to be a little softer. Here you need to blow with faster air or more pressure in the air for that note to be equal to the other notes. And the way I like talking about is I think about the harmonics of the low harmonics, medium harmonics, and higher harmonics. Because when you say ah or a or e, different parts of your body is resonating. And when we learn that, then we know I'm playing a high note. If I use A or E, my tongue is higher, so I'm favoring the head vibrations to play those higher notes. And that balances with the rest of the instrument. When you apply that technique, it's more like a voice. When you're singing, they're thinking about those things and doing those things. So,
is this the most complicated instrument?
I don't think so.
Well, French horns might.
Yeah, that's what I was
French horns,
thinking.
I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
but this is a
really,
close
yeah.
second, I suspect.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I must say that the sound of the bassoon, if you get a beginner flute player, a beginner bassoon player, a beginner saxophone player, the bassoonist will have the best sound. If you have a reed that is decent, you can so the difference between a beginner sound bassoon and a professional sound bassoon, let's say, is this distance. For the oboe, is this distance. For the flute, is even a bigger distance, because when you first start playing the flute, you probably can't even have a sound. You just have air coming out. So the bassoonists, we're already dealing with a better quality sound from the very beginning. If you have a teacher that's conscientious about that, and you can find a good reed, that's good.
I used to play the oboe, and one of the things that I really was a little jealous of my bassoon friends was that you had this variety of sounds, from being very comedic, the burping bedpost, sometimes the bassoon is called, or you can sound almost like crying. I think of the opening of some Stravinsky, The Rite of Spring. It's very, very haunting. So can you talk a little bit about how you create that enormous variety of sounds, and then what does that require for your ears?
It all boils down to the reed a lot of the times, and of course the instrument you use. Like these instruments that Adam and I play, the Hackle bassoons, are known around the world to be the best sounding bassoons, and it's in the same family since the beginning. And when I got this bassoon in 2000, it was 2002, sorry. I talked to the owner, Ralph Reiter, and what you do, I asked him, do you need to oil the wood of the bassoon? And he said to me, you can, you don't need to, but if you feel that it would be important to you, you have to be extremely careful, because at the factory, I'm the one that put the oil before I leave home for the evening. And that's the last thing I do, is to oil the bassoons that are coming up. And it's the first thing I do when I come back in the next morning to clean up and do the proper adjustments, because the oil that you put inside the wood change the way the instrument resonates. So there's this trades, the secret of the trades that Adams mentioned earlier. Each company has their own secrets.
And Adam, your bassoon is 80 years old?
Yeah, 1946, and also Heckel bassoon, which a lot of people think has kind of a characteristic sound. I think one of the interesting things, though, is that even if I, change instruments, if I play some other kind of bassoon, I'm still going to sound very similar to the way I sound on this instrument. And I think that has to do with really the sound concept that you develop with the help of teachers like Professor Quillo and my teachers throughout the years also, is one of the most important parts of sort of being developing as a bassoonist, is to develop that concept of sound, or really any instrument, develop the concept of sound that's appropriate for your instrument, and then you are able to create it using some of these differences, very subtle differences in how you're shaping the sound with your mouth, with your throat, with your reed, with your embouchure, and that's going to give you kind of a level of sound regardless really of what you play.
And if you keep your lips together and just breathe through your nose now, nice and easy.
That's not that bad. Chris was telling me it was completely blocked up.
Can you breathe through your nose?
Can you see it?
Nope. That's fine. Yeah. Okay.
No? You want me to move it more?
No.
Yeah.
Do you need a metronome?
No.